Hello. This is a short showcase of the graphical settings that I use in Witcher 3 Complete Edition or Next Gen Update using DX12. Fortunately enough, the update that fixed the DX12 usage on Steam Deck came pretty fast. If you still cannot run it, if you still cannot run the game in DX12, make sure that you get the Proton hotfix for this. So this is pretty important. It is important if you don't have it already. Moreover, you cannot run the game using a Proton layer other than the default one. In DirectX 12, in DX11, I used GE Proton 737. I'm pretty sure there are newer versions, but I did not do any update on this. So for DX12, make sure that you don't have a compatibility layer set in place. Now, the settings that I'm gonna show to you are maybe not the best ones. These are my personal settings. I played a lot with many configurations in each and every region of the game so that I could get the best overall performance and quality. So keep that in mind. And to start with this overview, I usually play the game at 40 refresh rate. Why I'm doing that is because you are winning some battery life with this. Witcher 3 is a demanding game in terms of battery, so I think you get 2 hours or 2 hours and 15 minutes with a full charge of the Steam Deck's battery. But for this video, I'm gonna let the refresh rate to 60 just to see the overall frames in every region that I'm gonna go through. And the first thing that I want to show to you and explain why I'm doing this is why I'm using this is that the resolution that I'm playing at is 1152 by 720. Why I don't use the 800? The short answer is that I'm also using the FSR from the Steam Deck itself, because that sharpens the image a lot, and I'm using FSR2, which blurs the image a little bit. And this combination with FSR2, this resolution that these two will gain you some frames, but these two combined with the FSR sharpness results in performance improvement and a sharper image. And why I'm saying that is because the FSR2 actually makes the overall quality a little bit, or the overall image a little bit blurry, especially the water. It doesn't look that great. The TAAU is the best option if you target superior image quality, but since I'm targeting at least 35 frames, I'm using FSR, and to make the image sharper and to also gain a little bit of frames here and there, I lower the resolution and I'm using this. Now, before diving into the graphical settings and going through all the regions, I'm gonna launch the game, and here we are in Toussaint, which is the widest or the most wide open area in the game, which is actually good for this showcase. And here you get at least 35 to 45 FPS in the open areas. In the city, you'll be getting somewhere between 35 and 40. There might be some areas where you get 32 at the least, so keep that in mind. But overall here, surprisingly so, Toussaint is actually a pretty good area in terms of performance, because you don't get that lower frame rates as you do in other areas, as you will see. Okay, so first off, as you may already seen, the FSR2 is set as anti-aliasing with FSR quality level set to quality. I'm using quality or balanced since the performance one creates some motion blur when you move the camera around, but that motion blur has some ghost artifacts and it doesn't look that great. You gain too few frames for worse quality of image, so I think the quality or balanced level are the best in my opinion. The dynamic resolution scaling, it is weird, but if you turn it on, you actually lose some frames. So here, with that setting turned off, we're getting 50 frames, 49 or so, and with it on, the frames take a little bit of hit. As I told you, you gain at least a couple of frames with that turned off. Here we had 35. So again, you can turn this off. You don't need it, to be honest. It doesn't make any difference, and you gain some frames. And moving on with the other settings, I'm having all these set to on or high. The screen space reflections are set to high. The motion blur, I don't like it. I didn't like it pre-patch. I don't like it now. Everything is set to on. The NVIDIA Hairworks, I don't recommend you use it. If you set it to on, you definitely take a pretty big hit in the frames. Now this is a good area to. It is not a good area to showcase the Hairworks, but let's see. Here you get 34, 33 frames, and those numbers don't improve if you lower the preset or the anti-aliasing of the Hairworks. But once you turn it off, you gain a lot of frames. As you see, we are again in the 40 frames range, and in my opinion, on the Steam Deck, the Hairworks don't look that great. They look a little bit pixelated, even with the anti-aliasing set to TXAA, or I don't know. The Hairworks look great on bigger displays, but not on Steam Deck. So I think you're better off with that turned off. Moving on, the other settings that I mostly use, and you will see why I said mostly, are a number of background characters. I set it to high. Basically everything is set to high except shadow quality. Why? Because I did not see little to no difference between high and low. The only difference that I saw is in the shadow that is being casted on characters' faces. In the lower setting it looks a little bit pixelated, but you also get a little bit of hit in the frames per second, so I set this to low. You gain frames and the image quality does not get any worse. I mean, you don't see a decrease in quality. Okay, now let's move to Skellige, which I'm gonna show there to you the foliage and the grass density option. Here by default the Toussaint area has a lot of grass, so lowering the grass density and the foliage level over distance is not a good area to showcase those settings, because it looks great regardless. So I'm gonna jump to Skellige now. When I compared DX11 to DX12, I went here because the grass on this road looks so much better in DX12 than DX11. In DX11 it looked like cardboard and I did not like it. But let's go to daytime. Yeah, I definitely have to get some mods to change the gameplay or the game mechanics. I think it is, yeah, it is overshadowed. Okay. I want to have a clear weather. Okay, let's try again. Okay, it is still overcast and so on. So, with those settings, with shadows set to low and everything set to high, you, in my opinion, get the sweet spot between performance and image quality. And I think this is a region where that combination with FSR2 and Steam Deck FSR and so on is best showcased. So let's try and set this to native resolution. And I don't know if it is clear on the recording, but yeah, you get a hit in the frames. You lose at least 5 to 3 frames. But the image looks a little bit blurry or muddy, or I don't know how to call it. And I'm seeing this in the water, especially in the distance, in the medium distance, not the far distance. And having yeah, the FSR now is, the Steam Deck's FSR is off. So as you can see here, so I'm gonna switch back. Let's see, where can we see something in the distance. Okay, so we are here in the wide region with the rivers and so on, and if we are looking in the distance there, and if we slowly go towards that area, to that road, you see that there some red flowers appeared, right? And as soon as I'm departing, they disappear logically, So from here I don't see them at all. And if we are increasing the foliage visibility range to ultra, you start to see them, but you take some performance hit. Maybe not here, but in some areas you definitely get some performance hit, and you can still see them from here. Now if you target if you want foliage visibility range to be high, I recommend you use Ultra and not Ultra Plus, because on Ultra Plus you don't get that much of a difference, to be honest. I mean, from here they disappeared, right? And now I can see them there. I don't know, I hope it is visible on the recording as well. But if we go and set this to Ultra again, they are still there. So you don't have to set actually anything to Ultra Plus on the Steam Deck. The pop-in is not that intrusive as, I don't know, it was prior to the update, or I saw worse pop-ins than this little fade effect. Now let's go to an area that is a little bit demanding in terms of performance. So the first area that we're gonna get to, where you definitely get a performance hit, is in Velen. In the Crookback Bog you don't get that much of a hit, to be honest. I went there and it works okay. But on the Fyke Isle there is a different story altogether. So let's go to Orton first, and we're gonna get a boat to the Fyke Isle. Or maybe we shall swim, because I think I got the boat from Orton to the Fyke Isle and I think I let that there. So we are in the low to mid 30 now. And as we move around, you might get 35, 32, 38 and so on. But yeah, it is still playable. And I think you can manage with this. But if we go to the Fyke Isle now, so as we near the isle, you will see a hit in performance. Yeah, we are in the 35 range now. And this is better felt when we are actually fighting some mobs. So we are in the 33, 35. As you can see. So here is one of the demanding areas, and that's due to the vegetation, to the heavy vegetation here. We were below 30 at that point. Okay, I'm gonna just finish these off and then continue with the explanation. So we are in the 30 frames now, and that's due again to the vegetation, and you can increase the performance in these areas by lowering the foliage visibility range, which doesn't make any difference because it is shrouded in mist, so you actually don't see the vegetation that far off. And this is a little bit annoying because, I don't know, maybe if you are getting to a Tower Full of Mice quest, which means that you will be moving a lot around this area on the island, in Orton and so on, you can actually decrease this to the medium or low and you gain some frames a little bit, but also this paired with the grass density will definitely help you. So the grass is pretty dense here by default, and the visibility is not something that you actually see. I mean, you don't get to see the grass in the distance, so that's why I said this is a little bit annoying to play with, because as soon as you leave this area, there is a difference with these settings between medium and high. It is not that big, but it definitely is a difference. And since we are speaking some settings that you can lower without getting a worse image quality but an improved performance, you can also decrease the texture quality. I've let it to high just to show you the frames in different regions with this setting to high, but if you set it to medium, you actually won't be seeing a difference in the quality, and the gain is 1 to 2 FPSs. Now, it is a little bit ridiculous to talk about 1 or 2 frames improvement and so on, but yeah, that's that. It is weird to talk about that, but yeah. So in Fyke Isle and in Velen overall, you might be better off with the foliage visibility range and grass density set to medium. You can leave texture quality to high or medium, it's up to you. So I'm gonna set it back to high. And yeah, let's see, do we still have someone here to fight? Yeah, we do. So with those settings set to medium, you gain some frames. As you can see, we are in almost 48 frames, but this area around the tower is not that demanding. So that's that. Okay, so here we're getting 48, almost 50 FPSs, and this is with this set to medium, and if we set them to high, now we can see some vegetation there, and yeah, you definitely get a hit in the frame, in the performance, but as I said, I am targeting 40 FPS. I don't expect to play near 50 FPS, and these settings are okay with that. But again, in areas like Fyke Isle, you definitely get a hit in performance, unfortunately. But so far we spoke about settings that deal to grass and foliage and so on. Now let's see the number of background characters, and the best example for that is Novigrad. Now, being outside Novigrad, we start with 40 FPS, which is good. And remember that we have the number of background characters set to high. But as soon as we enter the city, we will be getting somewhere in the mid-30s. In some areas you get under 30 frames, as you can see. If we go to the fish market, there the performance is improved. But having these many characters around us, yeah, it is logical that you are getting a performance hit, so I didn't expect it to perform that great from the get-go, to be honest. So here we have 30 or under 30. As we near the market, the performance does not improve, but as soon as we leave it, it's fine. But it gets worse when we are reaching the Hierarch square. So you definitely get a hit in towns where a lot of NPCs are present, and you can lower this setting. Let's set it to, I don't know, low. And you get a little bit of frames here and there, but not that many. Let's set everything to low and see the maximum number of frames that we can get here. I don't know, let's turn this off as well. Actually, I should have turned this off some time ago. And let's set the FSR to performance. So, as you can see, the area is pretty demanding by default. You won't be getting 40 FPS here, so we are still getting around 30, 32 or so. After you leave it, yeah, 50 FPS, no doubt, but here you don't get that much, so you don't win that much using lower graphical settings. If you turn this off, let's see, with that off, you still get 30 FPSs. So, as you can see, the image looks sharper now if you don't use the performance level of FSR2. And now the image looks the same, but you gain some frames. Actually, it looks, I think, a little bit blurry on Geralt's face now that I see it, but it's nothing that... it doesn't look terrible or something like that. But you gain some frames here. And if we turn these back on, the performance is the same. And if we're getting to the proper graphical settings, like these. Let's set the number of background characters back to high, this to low, high, everything set to high. You get 4 frames less. So again, this is subjective. If you wanna target 60 or 40 FPS, then yeah, you should play this at the lowest settings possible. But you in this area you won't be getting that many frames, so keep that in mind. Let's try now White Orchard. In White Orchard, with these settings, you won't be having any trouble whatsoever. Beside the shadows, everything is set to high, and you actually get a stable 40 frames. I don't remember seeing a place where you get under 40 that much. I think I got 38 at the least, and that was during the Griffin fight, and only for a second or two. So bottom line, the most demanding areas are around Velen and in Novigrad. But in Velen, you can play with the foliage to the foliage draw distance to medium and the grass density to medium as well. I don't know if I personally don't like to play around with the settings that much. I just want to set them and then just play the game. But if you are a type of person that, yeah, it doesn't bother you to play around with the settings depending on the area and whatnot, then you can do that. So I think this is it. This is Witcher 3 with DX12, and I'm looking forward to your comments if you have questions, or better yet, configuration preferences that, I don't know, you use. I want to hear from you, try them out and so on. So until next time, see ya.